Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Elizabeth Elenor, and we are pausing for Tuesday morning. Who feels like it's still Monday? We've just had the long weekend, the Easter weekend, and it doesn't feel like Tuesday to me at all. We went camping and we're out in nature, totally unplugged. And oh my gosh, it was so nice. And now I've come home to a beautiful bed, but it poured down rain all night. So I would love for you to say hi if you're watching live. Let me see who's on. And if you're watching the replay, let me just check to make sure I'm on. I am. If you're watching the replay, then hashtag replay so that we can say hi to you when you jump on. Today we're talking about timelines, right? Your highest frequency, your highest timeline, and how do you actually align with that? It's a big question, and one of the things that we're doing in Pause is all about having the opportunity to stop and reflect, right? To pause for a moment. So I would really encourage you to, when you're watching this or listening to this, you might be driving in the car. A lot of people do listen to this while they're doing other things. Just take a moment to actually stop. Stop and breathe for a moment. So let's just do it together. So taking a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just taking a moment to be grounded, to be connected, and to reflect. Because what happens is we spend so much time living life in default. We spend so much time in our old familiar mind that we forget the soul and what it came here to experience. So this is an opportunity just to stop for a moment. We are always busy, and when we're busy, we're in our familiar mind, we're in our unconscious, and then that part of us is taking over the show. Now I've got to share with you, good morning Pamela, lovely to have you here. I want to share something with you. The world's changing, right? The world is changing, and there was a time when we could do whatever we wanted and live in our little familiar mind as much as we possibly, as much as we wanted to. And it didn't make a difference, except for, I've got to say, when you're in the familiar mind, when you're living in that unconscious programming, what happens is it can be quite uncomfortable, right? There's a lot of sadness and anger and frustration and overwhelm and doubt and fear and all of those lower vibrational thoughts and feelings in the familiar mind, right? Because they are aspects of ourselves, right? Things that we've created, thoughts and feelings and beliefs, definitions that we've created from our childhood that last forever in our mind, and they get triggered whenever something like a similar experience has happened, right? Is like an automatic robot. Now we go through life, and most people do, 99% of people just live life in that default to the end of their days, right? And they leave the body and they go back up as a soul. And this is me, imagining that they go back as a soul and go, oh man, I was going to do this, I was going to do that, I was going to clear that limitation, I was going to correct that dysfunction I had that made me think that I wasn't good enough or I wasn't worthy or whatever it might be. And I didn't do it because I forgot who I was. I went into this amnesia and became part of the matrix, and I just disconnected and lived, that robotic life of waking up every morning and getting out of bed and, having breakfast and brushing the teeth, and having that mind continuously talk about all of the things that are irrelevant, like what's on the news, what's going on out there in the world, all of those things, when we're not considering that actually our world is created internally, because all of the programming from our childhood has been patterned within us, and now we are living in this default energy, and that's not our highest timeline at all. I just need a cup of tea. What our highest timeline is, our highest timeline is the part of us that came down to experience certain corrections, things that our soul has gone over and over again, right? Just say, for example, you were, and many of us magical women were, in past lives where we were burnt at the stake, or abused, or killed for speaking our truth, for being in our essence, for being intuitive, for being connected to the land, and living in our magic. We have been ridiculed, condemned, and criticized for many lives, right? So this time, this life, again, this is a premise, and playing around with me, this life, we come down into a time and space where we don't have that happening. We may be in Western society, living in Australia, or living in a Western culture where we're not getting, stoned or burnt at the stake, or, beheaded, or any of those things. We are allowed to speak our truth, right? Legally, to a certain degree, right? Most of the time, we're not getting in that space where before, big, tribes of people would come and pull you out of the house, and all of the horrible things that used to happen. Those things aren't happening anymore. We've come into a time and space where we are here as Western women to, most of us, if you're watching this, I generally say that you're in the Western world, and you're, I'd say, 99% of the people on here, women that are on here, have the privilege of being, in that Western world where we can speak our truth. But because we have had these previous experiences, and past lives, and all of those things, and childhood experiences where we had to be a good girl and do what you say, and all of the things that we've all been raised with, that voice of ours is no longer, it is not allowed to come out, right? Because we've been conditioned not to. Now, that's not our highest timeline. Our highest timeline is to correct those things from our past, from our childhood, to come into a place of clearing all that stuff up so that we can share our truth. Now, that might be just one of the things that we're here for. One of the experiences that we're here for is to speak our truth. We are in a time frame at the moment where the whole planet is moving from third and fourth dimension into fifth dimension. We have the ability and the opportunity for us to rise to that occasion with the planet and the frequency, or be left behind in that third dimensional frequency where everything is separate. So when we're aligning with our higher vision, with our higher timeline, we're here, like, that's not just about, where you're working, where you're living, what you're eating, all of those things. That's not what it's about. It's about the day-to-day experiences that we're having. Are we still in the place of judgment? Are you judging others for who they are, for what they believe, for what they wear, for what they look like. When we're making judgment of other people for being strong and convicted with something that we don't believe in but they do, right? When we're making judgments of others, we're judging ourselves. When we're making an assumption about other people, that's something that needs to be cleaned up and cleared in our frequency. Because if it's not cleared, then this is a lower vibration that's holding you down from raising into that fifth dimensional frequency where we recognize that everything is one. We're in unity consciousness, right? So if someone is expressing themselves even in their pain, even when they are expressing themselves as broken, to not take that on, to not be triggered by that, to empathize or to have compassion or to recognize that that's the way they actually want to be. Like sometimes people just want to be in their pain, right? And you've just got to respect that. These things are the work on that higher level to raise to that timeline where we're moving into the space of fifth dimensional consciousness. Now, this is where the dichotomy comes, right? And I had an experience myself over the weekend, over Easter. So I want to share a little bit to give you a bit of an understanding of how my brain works and some of the, the things that the soul is here to experience. So on Friday, I went to my auntie's house and had some, just a lunch with a couple of people, some of her family, some of my family. It was beautiful, nice and relaxed and all the things. And because there wasn't everyone there was a sort of intimate group there. Some things were said that weren't normally said, right? And so we had a conversation about my mum, and my mum is at the moment in this time and space right now. She is a very broken woman, which is a real, like, look at that. I couldn't even say it. She's a very broken woman who didn't do any of the work that she had the opportunity to do. Actually, I think my mum, when I look at it, I think my mum's got a mental health issue that never was rectified or seen or, given the time of day, right? She's always been strange, my auntie said. And so she's now bedbound in a nursing home with dementia. Now, my auntie told me a story that I've heard before from my mum's side. And I know not to take everything with a grain of salt from my mum, because she only sees from her, lens, which is a lot of us, right? But she was like, everyone in her family, all the people on her side of the family completely disowned her at Christmas time. This is years and years ago. I mean, 20, nearly 30 years ago, right? And from that experience, like she was taught, there's a long story about what happened, but everyone rejected her at Christmas, and she had Christmas by herself because no one wanted her at their house. And she'd gone to her parents, she'd gone to my aunties, she'd even gone to my uncles that I've never even met. Or, he's passed away now, so I never got to meet him. It was a big, sob story of how everyone rejected her. I hear this story from my auntie's side, and I hear what actually happened, and it made sense, right? But then she gave this timeline of something that happened just after that completely changed the trajectory of not only her life, but also my life and my daughter's life. Because she made a decision, and I'm not going to go into it, but she made a decision in that moment, and she took on a relationship that completely changed everything for, whether if it was going down this track, it completely shifted to that track, right? because, and I now see why, because she was doing it out of spite, right? She was like, everyone's rejected me, and so now I'm going to spite them, and I'm going to make this decision to be in this relationship that is to this day still going. Now, through that process, one of the things that I know, I've heard, the word sin is actually an ancient archery term for just off the mark, which is a beautiful, when you think about sin, you know, it's been given such weight and heaviness, and it's made, you know, such negative energy around it. But when you consider that it's just off the mark, right, it doesn't have as much weight to it. But this is what's happened, right? There's been this moment of being just off the mark. So, as I'm processing this as a soul and watching all the things that have happened in my life because of my mum's decision back then and my daughter's life, I'm now looking at two things that can be happening. I was telling Tim, is this in my soul's journey, right? There's two things that it could be. One, it could be in my soul's journey so that it doesn't trigger me, right? I don't make any judgment of it because it actually doesn't affect me personally. It affects the people around me. And so I'm like, does it affect me? Is the reason it's there to correct any triggers, right? And I look at it and like, if that's the case, then I've done pretty well. I've corrected those triggers. I don't get triggered by the decision she made, and the consequences that have happened in her life, in my auntie's life, in my daughter's life, all of these people. There's no triggers, right? Because I've recognized my soul's journey, their soul's journey, and I see it from an observational point of view rather than as a judgment of something gone wrong, right? I just observe and I recognize it's not up to me to make the decisions. There's choices that can be made at any given time that could change all of it, right? So is it there to clear any triggers? Because if that's the case, then I've already done pretty well. Or is it there to speak truth, to speak up and to share some wisdom that might change some opinions outside of myself? It might change the opinion of my auntie. It might change the opinion of my daughter. It might cause a rift. It could open their eyes to new possibilities, but it also could cause a rift and mean that I don't have any connection with them, right? So now I've got these two possible streams of consciousness, and what's happening is that aligned with my higher timeline? Because as I go through this and process it, I need to tune into that timeline to recognize which direction I'm supposed to be going in. Am I speaking my truth and sharing the wisdom that may potentially blow up in my face? Or have I already done the work and I'm no longer triggered by something that happened years ago because through the process I've cleared it? This is the work, right? It's got nothing to do with, places, times, and all of those things. It's got to do with your day-to-day processes, the day-to-day actions that you're taking. And I've got to tell you, ladies, it really has to do with your higher, like knowing and connecting with your soul's codes, with your soul's destiny, with your soul's potential. Because your soul came here to experience you, right? You as a soul came to experience particular things. Now you've chosen to be here at this time and space as the world is changing from third dimension into fifth dimension. We are in a crucial moment of time that's never been on the planet before with human consciousness, right? We've had, um, we've definitely had lineages of, like if you're looking back at Egypt and um, there's been times where there's been higher levels of consciousness and gods, as they say, that roamed the earth and all of those things. However, where we're at the moment, there's been a long period of amnesia, soul amnesia, where we have just been living in our unconscious from a collective point of view. And it's now time for us to wake up and expand into more of what we're actually here to experience. That we are not the only planet, for example, that there are many planets with many levels of consciousness, many beings on different planets, all of those things. These are the things that are just about to come into our reality and shift the consciousness of the planet big time. And so if we're not prepared to listen and to hear our soul now and what it is that we came to correct, then we're going to have a really hard time in the future as things shift, as these new levels of awareness come in. Because now is the time to connect in with what your journey is and what you're here to experience, what you're here to teach yourself, right? So, questions for you. Who is it in my life that I'm judging? What am I judging? What am I spending most of my time focusing on? If it's on the politics of the world, or the movie stars and where they're at, or celebrities as they call them. If it's on, the price of petrol, all of those things, then you're in your familiar mind and you're being completely distracted from what your soul is here to do experience. Your soul is here for way more than those, little things that are insignificant. Even though they feel like they're big at the moment, they're insignificant to what your soul is here to experience. Your soul came to expand into a higher level of consciousness, to create new worlds, to live in peace and love and connection, with support and in those beautiful, gratitude and appreciation and love and all of those higher vibrational experiences that we have the opportunity and the ability and the keys within us, the codes within us to actually unlock. So that's what I want to ask you to reflect on today. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on that little mind that's holding you outside of your desired end result, like your potential? Or are you on a daily cleaning up the energy that's getting in the way, releasing and neutralizing the stuff that actually doesn't serve you and is distracting you, so that you can let more of your light in, let more of your soul in, let more of your ability and potential in, and live in this beautiful, blissful state? Because the more of us that raise that vibration and hold that frequency of that higher timeline, the more of us that do that, then we are holding that frequency for thousands of others to do the same. Marianne Williamson says in her, beautiful, it's from Return to Love. It's part of her novel, or not a novel, it's a book that she's got. And it's very well known, it's not our darkness, it's our light that we're most afraid of. Who are we not to shine our light? All of those things, right? And one of the things that it says in that beautiful quote is that when we're the example, we're giving we're being the example for others, and we're giving permission to also for those others to shine their light and to also be at that place of raising the vibration and holding that love vibration on the planet as we raise to this higher frequency. So if you have any inkling of what your soul's here to experience, then focus on that. And if you don't, if you're feeling like it's actually not part of, part of your journey, then I'm telling you that you're in the wrong mind and you're being distracted. We're here to experience our highest timeline, our highest potential. If you don't know what that is and you're wondering what it is, then reach out to me, DM, send a love heart in the comments, whatever it is, and we can jump on a call to tune in to what your soul's potential is and see what it is that it came down here to correct. Because that's what the work is right now. All of this stuff, and it's tangible work, right? This might all sound like it's all a bit woo-woo and like all the spiritual stuff. It's not. This is based in science. This is tangible work to clean up the old patterns, all the old behaviors, the identity that wants to keep you stuck in limitation, in feeling crappy, in having arguments and feeling like you're powerless in relationships. Whatever it is, all of those things are what we're here to do and to clean up right now. Because I've got to tell you, you are way more important than that conversation you just had that made you feel like crap. You are way more than that. You are here to raise the vibration of the planet and your soul. And if you're ready for that alignment, then reach out and we can get on a call and do an intuitive read so that we can see what it is you're actually here to experience. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. By the way, I'm considering actually moving pause to, I'm getting a nudge from my higher self to move pause to a different time. I think that this isn't necessarily a good time for most people, is 8:30. I do it at 8:30 because my Conscious Creator Circle is on, my group call is on at 7 till 8. So this is a good time, but I'm actually considering moving it to a different time. So I'd love for you to put in the comments if that sounds like, especially if you're watching the replay, let me know what times work better for you. And I'm thinking to do it later in the day, possibly even maybe another day. I'm feeling at least later in the day. So yeah, that's me. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will catch you soon. See you next Tuesday.